All right, hello and welcome back to another Mr. Pisto Plays Magic the Gathering Arena Brawl deck tech and gameplay session. We are brawling on a budget. This time it is Anax, Hardened in the Forge. Once again, the deck is 6 crafted rare and mythic wild cards and any of the starter deck rares that you get from completing the introduction to Magic the Gathering Arena. These rares and mythics are skewed to standard and a little bit to historic game play, so that if you're building your standard deck, you're crafting rares, these are rares and mythics that you can craft for both that, along with a pretty fun brawl deck, if I do say so myself. So we have Anax, Hardened in the Forge. He's a 3-mana star 3, another great card that is in a lot of, if not all, the mono red aggro decks right now in standard, so it's a good craft anyways. It is a star 3 and you get a 1/1 satyr creature token when a creature dies with power 3 or less, and if that creature had power 4 or greater, you get 2 of those instead, and you got to make sure they're non-token creatures. So the crafts for this deck are as followed. We have Fervent Champion, Robber of the Rich, and Shatter Skull. Smashing. All of them see play in both historic and in standard, so they are great cards to craft. And then we have Bone Crusher Giant, Torbran, Thane of Redfell, and Ember Cleave. Again, all cards that are great to craft for your standard or modern historic gameplay. All right, we have our starter deck rares. We have the Goblin Trashmaster, Ogre Battle Driver, Immortal Phoenix, and Siege Dragon. Sorry, Goblin Trashmaster. Sorry, Siege Dragon. You just don't quite make the cut. Ogre Battle Driver and Immortal Phoenix did make the cut in this deck. So, in these deck techs, we have a few categories. And our first category for this is Burn, Baby Burn. Mono red is a lot about burning your creatures or your opponent's creatures and burning your opponents as well. So our first 3 are Shock, Fire Prophecy, and Scorching Dragonfire. Shock dealing 2 damage to any target is great. Nice early game interaction. Fire Prophecy deals 2 damage to only a creature. Then you can put a card from your hand on the bottom of your library and draw a card. So we got a little teeny tiny bit of card draw in red. The deck is very much an aggro deck, so it doesn't focus on that aspect of things. Scorching Dragonfire, dealing 3 damage and having whatever is dealt damage exiled instead of going to its graveyard is quite good, especially with like the Croxas and the Uros of the world. They go into exile rather than going to your opponent's graveyards, which is quite handy. Then we have Volcanic Geyser, Shatter Skull Smashing, and Crush the Weak. Volcanic Geyser deals X damage to target creature or player. So it can be a late game finisher, can be a mid game get rid of something out of the way. Very versatile card. Shatter Skull Smashing deals X damage divided as you choose among creatures, 2 creatures your opponents control, and then if X is 6 or more, you double that damage, which is quite nice. Crush the Weak, you can get rid of a bunch of little things for 3 mana, or you can foretell and only cast it for 1. And it deals 2 damage to each creature, and if a creature dealt damage this way would die, you get to exile it instead. So you can maybe hit it with a shock and then crush the weak and then exile that something that's a little bit bigger. A few more of the burn spells in the deck. We have Slaying Fire, Searing Barrage, and Soul Sear. Being able to deal 4 damage to any target is quite nice, because we will pretty much always have the adamant ability of this spell. Searing Barrage, 5 damage to target creature. Here again, we will almost always have the red adamant, and it deals 3 damage to that creature's controller as well. And then Soul Sear, dealing 5 damage to a creature or planeswalker and making it lose indestructible until the end of turn. It's quite handy to get rid of the Toskis of the world and the Theros God. That's Burn Baby Burn. Next, we are going on an adventure. We have 3 adventure cards in the deck. We have Bone Crusher Giant, one of our rare crafted cards. Its adventure is Stomp. It deals 2 damage to any target, and damage can't be prevented this turn. And then it is a 3 mana 4/3, and when it is targeted by a spell, even your own, it deals 2 damage to that spell's controller. So be careful targeting it with effects like Rimrock Knight. The 2 mana 3/1 that can't block, but it also has Boulder Rush. It is +2/+0 until the end of turn. And then our other adventure card is Embereth Shieldbreaker. It's a 2 mana 2/1. It has Battle Display as its sorcery, and you destroy target artifact. All right, those are the cards that are going on adventure. Next, we have Zoom Zoom. These are hasty creatures and haste granting creatures or things. We have Fervent Champion, Robber of the Rich, and Bolt Hound as our first 3 Zoom Zoom creatures. Fervent Champion is a 1 mana 1/1 with first strike, haste. It can wear equipment for 3 less, so that is quite good. We have a couple of equipments in the deck for this to carry, and it also gives other knights +1/+0 until the end of turn, or a target attacking knight. So it makes a couple of our creatures bigger, but otherwise it is just a very efficient, great thing to wear equipment, and also a great thing to use combat tricks on. Robber the Rich, 2/2, reach and haste. The reach doesn't make sense to me, but that's okay. Whenever it attacks, if defending controller has more cards in hand than you, you can exile the top card of their library, and during any of a turn you attack with a rogue, which I believe Robber the Rich is our only rogue at this point, you can cast that spell with any mana. Bolt Hound, 3 mana 2/2. It has haste, and when it attacks, it gives all your other creatures +1/+0 until the end of turn. So it's nice to go 1, 2, 3. These are 3 cards that go really well together. All that haste is quite nice. We have 2 Zoom Zooms that grant Zoom Zoom to other creatures. We have a 4 mana 3/3 and Ogre Battle Driver. I know this is the M14 card, but it's the best one I could find. It is in the MTG Arena starter decks. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it gets +2/+0 and gains haste until the end of turn. And then Axguard Cavalry. How could we not put some of the cutest art from Kaldheim in our deck? It's a 2 mana 2/2 Dwarf Berserker, and it taps to add or grant a creature haste until the end of turn. So those are our Zoom Zooms. And we're off to work we go. I think you can guess what this means. Yes, we have all 7 of the 7 dwarves. You only need to craft 4 of these, or if you've played enough and have all 4 of them already, then you get all 7. You don't have to use all 7 wild cards to get them. It's just 4 wild cards, and then you're off to the races or off to work. The 7 dwarves, they hit pretty hard. If you can get 2 or 3 of them onto the battlefield, they grant each other +1/+1 for each other dwarf named 7 dwarves. So you can get them to quite a big number if you have all of them out there. Then we have a section called Hitting Harder. 2 of these we've talked about already with Ogre Battle Driver and Bolt Hound. They both grant extra attack power. Then Torbrand, Thane of Redfell, grants 2+ damage to any red permanent or any red spell, any red source, I should say. Deals damage, it deals that +2 instead. And it also gives 3 red mana symbols to your commander in the deck. So it does quite a bit in the Hitting Harder category. Then we have the Heraldic Banner, gives your creatures +1/+0 and taps to add 1 mana of red. And then Ferocity of the Wilds. I thought this card would be fun to try. I've never put it in a deck before, and they say restrictions breed creativity. So this is a 3 mana enchantment that gives all attacking non-human creatures +1/+0. We only have a few actual humans in the deck, so this grants the majority of our creatures +1/+0 and trample, and that can be nice to get through those damage points that you wouldn't otherwise get. And then we have some tricky tricks. What is red without pump spells and tricks? The 3 tricks that we have in our deck are Infuriate, Raking Claws, and Embercleave. And note, we did have the Rimrock Knight, which is a trick as well. This Infuriate is 1 mana for +3/+2 until the end of turn. That is quite a lot of power and toughness for 1 mana. Raking Claws gives a creature double strike until the end of turn, and it has that nice ability of cycling. So if you do not need it at this time or you are behind, you can chuck it and get a new card. And then Mono Red's biggest, beefiest end game finisher card is Embercleave. 6 mana flash. It costs 1 less to cast for each attacking creature you control. And when it enters the battlefield, it is another one of those equipment that equips for free. And your equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has double strike and trample until the end of turn. And otherwise, you can equip it for 3 mana. So it can end the game. Raking Claws can do something similar without the trample. But yeah, it works quite well as some tricks for the deck. Then we have ramp. How does red ramp other than artifacts? Well, we have Arcane Signet, which is your typical, it's going to be in every one of these. Taps to add 1 red mana in this case. Heraldic Banner taps to add red when you choose red. Be careful, you can choose other colors by accident. And then we have the Gold Vine pick, or Gold Vein pick. It is pseudo ramp. It's an equipment that equips for 1, gives your creature +1/+1, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token, and that's an artifact that taps to add 1 mana of any color after you sacrifice. So it's not guaranteed ramp, but it is ramp, and it does buff your creatures a little bit, and I wanted to give it a go. And then we have Boom. Those are the artifacts. Red is good at destroying artifacts, and these are a couple or 3 that I picked for the deck. Shredded Sails, Embereth Shieldbreaker. We've already talked about this card in the Going on the Adventures. And then we're going to try Shackles of Treachery. So Shredded Sails destroys target artifact or deals 4 damage to target creature with flying. So it does a lot of things. And you can cycle it for 2 mana, discarding it to draw a card. Talked about Embereth Shieldbreaker already, being able to destroy an artifact for 1 red mana. And then we have Shackles of Treachery. This is equipment based artifact destruction. Stealing, or you gain control of target creature and untap it, and then when it attacks or deals damage, any kind of damage, it doesn't have to be damage to a player, it's just damage. Destroy an artifact or destroy an equipment attached to it. So if it has more than 1 equipment, you only get to pick 1. But it is quite cool, and I thought I would give it a shot. All right, everything else in the deck. There's not too much in the everything else column in this deck tech. We have our Fireblade Charger, Basalt Ravager, and Immortal Phoenix. Fireblade Charger is another 1 mana 1/1. And if it is equipped, it has haste. So we have a couple of equipments in the deck, but more often than not, this will just be attacking on turn 2, hopefully. And when it dies, it deals power or deals damage equal to its power to any target. So if you use one of our tricky tricks, you can deal a decent amount of damage with this thing. Assault Ravager is kind of like the new Flame Tongue Kavu, but it does have restrictions, but it can also be better than what Flame Tongue Kavu used to be. It deals X damage to any target, where X is the greatest number of creatures you control that have a creature type in common. This is probably going to trigger, hopefully after we've had Anax die 2 or 3, or not necessarily Anax die, but having Anax out and having a few creatures die, and we have like 3 or 4 or 5 satyrs. Play Basalt Ravager. All of a sudden, you have a 4/2 that deals 5 damage to something. And then the Immortal Phoenix, 6 mana 5/3 flyer, and when it dies, return it to its owner's hand. It is an annoying thing to deal with unless you can exile it. And that's the deck. Anax, Hardened in the Forge, Brawling on a budget. All right, we're going to play a couple games, and yeah, thank you. Here we go. Will you be my Valentine? Nethroi, Apex of Death. We would like something that costs less than 3. This is okay. Now the question is, do we 2-drop or do we ramp? That is the question. If we draw land, I think we 2-drop. Because then we can go Signet 2-drop. Afterward, yes. Alright, we're going to do this. Then we can play Mountain into Signet into Robber. And hopefully bash him in. Mountain into Signet into Robber into Trade? Probably? Or are they gonna let it live? Ooh. That's nice for us. Gonna mutate the 3/4. Oh, mutate the Gem Razor. We got an answer for that. Unfortunately, it's not the most mana efficient play, but it's something we kind of, well, maybe. Let's hit with this. See if we get something that we can use. That's powerful. But we still got to do this. Two for one. A land would be very nice. And we can cast that 5 mana 6/6. Not that we can do much to it. I think we just kill that and then keep bashing. They're stuck on mana. See if we can rip another land off the top of their deck. Yep, there we go. Beat 'em up, beat 'em up. That's the name of the game. Beat 'em up. Toski. Interesting. Interesting. All right, I think we bash. They get the block. And 100% playing this. Next turn we can Heraldic Banner on red. Ferocity of the Wilds. Give our things trample except for the Robber. 7. They could play 5/5 with lifelink. That's another good play. Oh, what is this? Return creature. Got it. I'm not blocking. What a... Oh, it has to attack. It's okay. I guess I should have blocked there. That probably would have been the better play. But not that it really matters. Boom. Lethals. Missed blocking opportunity, but it didn't matter. All right. That's what we're trying to do. Run them over. All right. Let's do another one. All right. Phantom CG, I think. We can keep this. 2-drop, 3-drop, 4-drop. Pretty powerful stuffs. I like the restrictions breed creativity kind of thing. That 3 mana enchantment that gives non-humans trample and +1/+0 when they attack. It's a lot better than I thought it would. All right, Phylath. Waiting on you. Hope you're all having a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night, wherever you are in the world. I've been just getting back to from the holidays. Been interesting to get back into the swing of things. But we're here playing Magic. This could be fun at some point. If they play a mana dork, we're probably bone crushering it. We want them to not get to... Yeah, we gotta kill that. Unfortunately. The race against the clock. We're stuck on red. That is unfortunate. I think we play this, or do we pick and get a mana? I think we play this. Because then if we do get a mana, Torbran is king. Only thing that hurts us is the 2 mana 2/2 with flash. All right. Land off the top. That is scary for us. Well then. That's an interesting card. It puts up a big barrier. Too bad we don't have the mana. Maybe we should have played the thing. I know. We are going to do Bone Crusher Giant. Offer the trade. Saves them a mana. Right? They don't want to. Maybe they have something to mutate over it. Where is their red mana? Fight? Who won one? Old Hound. That's an interesting card, but I kind of want to get this going. If they want to kill it, they kill it. Right? Let's swing in. Force the issue. Trade with my commander. You're gonna trade with a dwarf. Or you're gonna blow up my mana rock. What's your plan? Phantom CG. Alright, that resolves. Now what? Make your decision. Alright. That's an interesting decision. Do damage to everything? Something like that. They can castle Ehrenbreg for a 6-drop. But I'm not really afraid of a 6-drop. This is 3, 6, 9, 12. 1 damage. They must have a Torbran in their deck for that to make sense. Alright, let's Torbran it up. And that's the scoop. Alright, let's get into another one. We're getting lucky. But sometimes you gotta get lucky to get good. Maddo 3, 4, 6, 0, double dwarves, triple dwarves, and double strike. I think we keep this. Looks good to me. Now the question is, do we cavalry first or do we dwarf? That is the question. This dwarves block that quite nicely. But giving things haste is pretty solid too. I guess it depends on what we draw. against a bunch of slow players today. I think we're gonna 7 dwarves, get the pressure on. Although it's nice to get this down early, like I said before. I'm going to 7 dwarves. Next turn they can play their commander. Ah. Then we could pick it up. That could force the issue a little bit. If they play their commander, we have to either play the dwarf or attach the pick. We can attack. I think I want to dwarf. That way, if they don't block and they attack, it's a suicide unless they have some kind of removal spell. Which they are in the colors of fighting and the killing things. Although they have no black. Oh, speak of the devil. There it is. Tapper. A tapper. That's annoying. That's quite annoying. That could be one of many different things. I think we're going to play this for sure. Is that a cup? Is that a poisonous cup? Try and trick us. Destroy one, block the other. No, nothing. All right. Maybe it's a draw spell. No, nothing. Okay, maybe it's a 6/5. Just trying. Let's play. Guess the foretold card. There are so many different options. Jorn's a pretty cool commander. Well, that sucks. All right. I think it's time to cycle the Raking Claws. Can we draw into something that will help us? That's not going to help us. Nor is that. I think we are in trouble in this last game, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Maybe it saw it coming. There it is. All right, we'll play the pick. Gate? Nope. Girl, this is the power of Jorn. Play a 5-drop, untap your lands, play another 5-drop. GG. Hold up counterspell. Oy. I think we are dead. And try and get us to 6 mana. We might have a shot if we can do that. And no shot at all. We had a very good start, but they had a very good removal spell. Board Wrath. Board Wipe. Let's let Jorn do his thing. A good one. That's a good one. That's an interesting card to discard. Must have a very good hand. That didn't quite do what they wanted it to do. You draw a card, right? We'll be able to kill both the Gargadon and the Jorn if they have no counterspell next turn. Make a 3/3. Ow. Guess having creatures on board is a good thing. There's another creature on board. That one we cannot really deal with. All right. X is 6. 6 here. 6 here. 6. 6. Submit. Auto pay. Boom goes dynamite. Or are they going to boom our dynamite? Do they have a counter spell? And they have all the answers this game. End it.
I wonder if you'll bring the shadows awaken.
Right, pick your poison. Doesn't really matter. And that's the game. All right, let's get into some suggestions for upgrades with rare and mythic wildcards. All right, let's do it. All right, Anax, Hardened in the Forge, Budget Brawl. There are lots of rares and mythics that I think could help us make our game plan less about clearing the way out for what we have and more bringing on more creatures that really affect the board in a very positive way in our favor rather than relying on our burn spells. So some of those upgrades are moving the Goldvine pick, which is actually the one artifact in the deck, to a Shadow Spear. I guess I should say one equipment in the deck besides the Ember Cleave. So Shadow Spear, giving your creatures trample and lifelink. The lifelink can be very relevant, especially when we're trying to race. And also stopping hexproof and indestructible can sometimes lead to positive interactions in our combats. So Goldvein pick, yeah, cool addition, cool thought. But I think just the Shadow Spear does so much more for us. Moving away from the burn, like I said, into something away from Volcanic Geyser. It's cool. We saw it do some work. But Kargan Intimidator can get through by itself. It's a good mana sink. Volcanic Geyser is a one-time mana sink. This you can use multiple times by getting it through if it's by itself against one other creature, making it a little bit bigger, and giving warriors trample. I think it's a good upgrade for the something along the lines of the Volcanic Geyser. Then we could move away from the Embereth Shieldbreaker. It's great at destroying artifacts. But Magda, Brazen Outlaw, we have those 7 dwarves. If you want to keep those 7 dwarves, Magda is a great addition to this deck. Your dwarves get +1 stronger, more power, and you're powering out treasures to be able to sacrifice those to go find your Ember Cleave, to go find your another addition to the deck that I'm thinking about adding that would be very good for us. We'll see that in a minute. Moving away from the burn again into something along the lines like a Relic Robber. This, if it can get in once or twice and give your opponent that 0/1 that pings them every turn on their upkeep, it can help close out the games faster than something like a Slaying Fire can do. Although Slaying Fire does get things out of the way, and this could be your preference over the creature based, I personally prefer a more creature centric mono red style of deck. Then we're going with the Basalt Ravager, cool card, some great interaction with Anax after it's gotten those tokens. But if you don't have many of those tokens out, you're only doing one or two things. Whereas Tectonic Giant gives you guaranteed 3 damage reach against your opponent. Sure, the Basalt Ravager can get things out of the way, get small things out of the way. This attacks much better, being a 4-2 versus a 3-4. The 4 toughness is very relevant. And if it gets targeted, you can at least throw some damage at your opponent, or you can actually potentially play some cards on your next turn. I think the Tectonic Giant in the place of the Assault Ravager is just a great upgrade in that slot. Moving away from the burn, like I said, this card was really cool when I was testing the deck, but Goldspan Dragon is Goldspan Dragon, and it is super powerful. Haste, flying, evasion, giving you more tokens, which gives you more mana, which makes it easier to cast your other things. And finally, moving away, bye-bye Immortal Phoenix. Yes, you are a good card in some respects, being free by just completing the tutorials and the decks, but a 5/3 for 6 mana just doesn't cut it when there's things like this may be a 2/2 for 3 mana, half the mana, but you can pump mana into it if you need to. They both recur from the graveyard. This one can keep coming back and back and back as long as you have cards in your graveyard. 3 is a small cost, and the fact that we are not using our graveyard, so once things go to the graveyard, it's fine to exile them. Phoenix of Ash is a great upgrade. It comes down quicker. It hits, I wouldn't say harder, but it hits multiple times versus hitting one big time. And yeah, I think it fits in that slot much, much better. For lands, we could look at cards like Castle Embereth, giving all your creatures +1/+0 for 4 mana. Good late game mana sink if you got nothing else to do with your mana. Crawling Barrens is a creature land. Here again, we're playing aggressive, so having your lands be able to fight with you is a strict upgrade. And also Faceless Haven, which would mean we would change all our basic regular mountains into snow-covered mountains. So we could play the Faceless Haven, Snow, Snow. It becomes a 4/3 with Vigilance, so you can still use it to cast your combat tricks, along with it attacking, which is a pretty cool addition, pretty cool ability. The Vigilance, it comes up more often than you would think. Those are just some examples. Obviously, there are so many more different ways that you could go about building an Anax Hardened in the Forge or any mono red deck. This is my upgrade suggestions for the budget Anax Hardened in the Forge deck. All right, from me to you, have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night. Bye for now.